Hi everybody, Dan Illman, Mike Beer, taking a look at the Grade 3 Tropical Turf Stakes, one of 5 graded stakes races at Gulfstream Park on Saturday. Let's take a peek at this field. We're traveling 1 mile on the turf. $100,000 is the purse. A field of 9 expected to go. Mike, the number 7, black type, your 2-to-1 morning line favorite. This is a consistent horse. I'm not sure he has such an edge over this field that I would want to go overboard at a short price, however.
Yeah, I sort of agree with that. I mean, I've always sort of felt that way about him. He obviously can win this race. I have no problem with him being the favorite. In a lot of ways, I guess he should be the morning line favorite in the race. It's just that, you know, at the end of the day, he's really not that good. I agree with you. I don't think he has a huge edge on this field. He does have some pretty nice tactical speed, though. I think he can get the right trip in this kind of a race. And at the end of the day, maybe he is just the horse to beat. I just would never bet him at a price like 2-to-1 or something like that.
I thought he had a decent setup in a similar spot last time out, the R.D. Schiller Stakes, where he was sort of in mid-pack by himself, came wide into the stretch and kind of lacked his punch. It was an okay effort. He was 7-5 in that spot. You know he's going to get bet here, but I agree with you. He's probably going to get a pretty nice pace scenario. Remember, DRF Bet sponsors all of our stakes previews, and if you sign up right now, you can access a $300 bonus at drf.com/fall when you use the promo code FALL300. It wasn't exactly Lazarus-like, but all included rose from the dead, basically, last year at Gulfstream Park. Todd Pletcher dangled him in for 62.5 to kick off his 6-year-old campaign. He didn't win that race, but he came back to be Grade 1 placed. Then he won the Appleton. He's coming off a long layoff again.
Yeah, it's another long layoff. It's the same kind of layoff that he returned from down here last year. And he did run pretty well. That was an optional claim or allowance race, and you're right, he was in for the price that day. I think if you go back and watch the replay, it's not that hard to make the argument that he could have won with the trip that the winner got. The winner went to the inside. This horse came around wide. He got beat in neck, and he ran fine. And then he really improved in his next 2 starts for Pletcher. Listen, I took a really long look at him in this race, if only because I don't really like anybody else, and I'm kind of against the favorite in here. And I do think if Pletcher can get him back to the form he was in down here last year at this time, he can win this race. I'm using him, Dan.
He didn't do any running in his most recent start, the Grade 3 Red Bank Stakes at Monmouth, but notice that race came on a less than firm turf course. I don't think he likes any given the ground. Plus, that race preceded this long layoff. Something physically might have went amiss in that spot. He was facing also a sharp horse in Irish Straight, who came back to be graded stakes placed with a 101 buyer speed figure. As you mentioned, Pletcher is just on fire at Gulfstream, it seems, every year. Right now, he's hitting at about 45%, and we have a positive formulator fact for all included. Past 2 years, older horses off this kind of layoff in turf routes, 21%, a 297 return on investment. The couple of horses coming in from Woodbine that we have to discuss, coming out of the Labib Stakes, a 1-turn mile over yielding ground last month. The winner of that 4-horse field was Tower of Texas, who was at the back of the pack, came wide, was just simply the best horse on that day. He should get a decent trip and a decent setup, breaking from the inside post. Is this horse, though, more of a 7-furlong to 1-turn mile type?
I think that he is, and I think that's why, you know, they don't ship him out of Woodbine that often, but I think that's why when they do ship him out, maybe he just doesn't quite come through with his best races, because I think he is a 7 or 8 furlong 1-turn kind of horse. That's what he really wants to do. Listen, his good race makes him really tough in here, and I know it was only a 4-horse field last time. He was way the best in that race. 4 wide all the way around the turn. There's just sort of like they just wanted to keep him out of trouble. They knew he was better than them. He was better than them. I'm not so sure that's the case in this race, but I think he fits really well if he can run his best race around 2 turns.
Fellow Keeneland grad, the number 9, Shakamat, is 8-1 for trainer Roger Atfield. This horse was a graded stakes winner at Keeneland as a 3-year-old, and it looks like he's getting back into form. He really blew out a field of optional claimers 2 starts back, going a 1-turn mile and a 16th. He made the pace in the Labib. I think he's actually going to be better around this 2-turn configuration, but there's other pace he has to be wary of.
He does have other pace to deal with in this race. He has shown, at least in that race 2 starts back, he showed that he could sit off another horse if he has to do that. Of course, the horse he was sitting off that day was, you know, 1,000,000 to 1 and finished nowhere. So I think he just felt like they always knew he had that horse. It's going to be a different situation here if he tries to track. He'll be trying to track some pretty good and fast horses, and that concerns me about him because overall, His best races are just when they put him right on the front. I'll give him a small excuse for the Labib because maybe he doesn't like yielding ground, but he was pretty bad in that race.
Let's take a look at the Timeform U.S. pace projector for the tropical turf, and you see the 9 Shakamat is close to the pace, along with the 8 One Go All Go, who we'll get to a minute.
Yeah.
But on the lead is the number 6, and that is Western Reserve, and I think that's how Paco Lopez has to ride Western Reserve. Send him to the top, make Shakamat take a seat from the outside, and One Go All Go, who is removing blinkers, it's possible that they're going to try to rate this horse. If that's the case, Western Reserve might actually get this sort of situation.
I would like to see Paco just come out of there running as well. He is a fast horse, and he can get pretty brave on the lead, too. He can be a pretty hard horse to get by if he's on the lead in the stretch. He doesn't absolutely need the lead to win, though. So, but I do think he should come out of there running. If somebody else is really intent on the lead, then you can try and maybe take back a little bit and sit off it. But I think they should try and make the front in here. He's got races that will make him really tough. And I think he fits really well in this field if he can get the right trip.
As for One Go All Go, the 8 who we see up close to the pace, this horse has really outrun his pedigree. A son of Fairbanks, bred in Virginia. He won the Grade 2 Commonwealth Derby a couple of years ago at Laurel, and since then, sort of in and out form. He was purchased for $62,000 at the Keeneland November sale. Maybe they've got a bargain buy here. He was in against a Queen's Plate winner, Sir Dudley Diglis, last time out. But he's got to run his lifetime best.
He just has to run, the best race he's probably ever run. We'll see what they do with him. I sort of feel like they'll just try and put him on the lead. That's his best running style. But you're right, the blinkers were only on for 1 start. They're coming right back off. He'll be forward in here. It just feels like a pretty tough spot for a horse like him.
You could do worse than taking a Michael Maker trained horse in this race. Maker, we've known all through the years, claims horses, moves them up on turf especially. He took Galton the 5 for $62,500. This horse won at Gulfstream West last time out. He is very sharp and might have the right running style, but is he this good?
I don't know if he's this good. It sort of feels to me like he's not, but we'll find out a little bit more about him in here. His form since Maker claimed him, no surprise there. It's pretty good. It's not like he's really improved him all that much, though, based on what he was doing for his prior trainer. And when he won last time, I thought he looked good winning last time, but he got an absolute perfect trip in there against some weaker horses. I think he'll get a good trip in this race, too, but I'm not so sure he's going to be able to capitalize on it.
Could you make the argument that fellow long shot, the number 3, Lequen, is still unexposed? He's been in against tougher horses in his 2 races on turf in North America, won the Del Mar Mile, where he caught Blackjack Cat, who got sharp this year off of a long layoff, and then the Shadwell Turf Mile, where he was facing horses that were on their way to the Breeders' Cup Mile. Lequen's last race on dirt, I'm not going to trust it. 7 will just throw a line through that race.
I guess.
I think he's a bit interesting at a price, maybe underneath.
I guess he's a little interesting just because he is unexposed. You don't know. My problem with him is this. And yes, he has run against better horses on turf since he got over here. But I just wanted to see him do some running in either one of those races, and I didn't see him do any. And I hear what you're saying about the dirt race, except that he was a pretty good dirt horse in Argentina, and he didn't do any running in that race either. I don't know. I could never take him, but I do feel like this is sort of a kind of a wide open race that if you could make a case for him, maybe you want to take him at a price.
Pick time for the Grade 3 Tropical Turf Stakes. Mike, you're fishing for a price. You want the 6 Western Reserve at 12 to 1. And as you mentioned, if he gets loose on the lead, he's very dangerous.
Yeah, it's just one of those races that I really struggled with it, and I don't really like the favorites in here. He's a price. He's good enough to win if he gets the right kind of trip in here, and I'll hope he gets it.
I won't argue with anyone that takes the position that Camelot Kitten was a good 3-year-old that just didn't go on in 2017 at 4. I think that's a very fair position, just looking at the Beyer speed figures and the results of his 3 off-the-board performances this year. I'm going to make some excuses. In that Lure Stakes, it was his first start off an 8-month layoff. He didn't have to win that. I thought he was at the mercy of a slow pace 2 starts back in optional claiming race where Black Type found himself way more forward. And then last time out in the Knickerbocker, I don't think he liked giving the ground. It looked like he was struggling in the stretch. He finished evenly. Chad's given him a little bit of a break. He should get a fair pace to attack. When this horse was right, he was capable, with a good trip, to beat horses like Beach Patrol and Annals of Time. He gets one last chance at 9 to 2 on the line.
Listen, I hear everything that you're saying about him. I do want to see him take a step forward at some point here, because he did sort of feel like, to me, he was a good 3-year-old. I just sort of felt like he was sort of winning races, maybe getting a little lucky to win some of those races because he would just get the right trip every time, and it sort of happened for him. I just don't like any of his 3 races so far this year, but we'll see if Chad can get him to step forward.
Mike's going with the 6 Western Reserve. My top 4, 2, 1, 9, 7, and I will play the 2 Camelot Kitten at 3 to 1 or greater in the Grade 3 Tropical Turf Stakes. Again, if you are playing this Graded stakes-laden card at Gulfstream Park on Saturday from home. Please sign up to DRF Bets. You'll immediately be rewarded with a $300 bonus at drf.com/fall when you use the promo code FALL300. An approximate post time for race number 10 at Gulfstream on Saturday is 4:37 Eastern. Good luck.